there was a certain disrespect and not really caring about the life of another human being. And seeing that over and over and over again, even if you don't watch the videos, but knowing that these cases continuously happen, definitely takes a toll on the mental health of students. Definitely took a toll on me. I don't think I couldn't study for like a week. And mind you, I'm trying to study for a step. I just could not focus. And I think that a lot of my friends who aren't Black had a hard time understanding that. I was looking at a study by the Lancet, actually, and it showed that Black Americans have higher rates of mental health issues due to just the constant exposure of this compared to their white American counterparts, even if they weren't related to the person, or if they didn't see the whole entire, incident. And so I just took that week to just get my life together, or just to process everything that happened around. A few days after it happened, there was a protest that was supposed to happen in DC and a protest in Columbus. And I was leaving to come back to Columbus, actually. And everyone was like, let's go and protest and let's go out in the streets. And it's so interesting because when I was in college, so many cases like this was going on and everyone was like, let's go and protest and blah, blah, blah. And while I do believe that protesting is super, super important, at least in my lifetime, regarding a lot of these cases, a lot of the killers have gone, nothing's really happened to them, or they've been free. And there's a certain type of tiredness, like bone exhaustion, having to always be the person to go out in the streets, having to always be the person to push for change. And I think this case really just hit me where I was just tired. I did end up going out to protest. It was great to be around people so unified. I will also say that this protest, I think, was one of the first one that I noticed that everyone seemed super affected. Not saying that the Trayvon Martin case and other cases didn't affect people as much, but I think a lot of people are finally starting to kind of get it, which makes me super happy. Actually, I was reading somewhere on New York Times, I think, that said that the public opinion on Black Lives Matter has increased pretty much exponentially in the past 2 weeks versus the past 4 or 5 years, which is amazing. I'm really happy that people are finally starting to see people's humanity, I guess. But I think there's still a lot of work to be done. I think another issue that kind of has been raised up has been through OSU and the student council and things like that. We've been having a lot of meetings regarding diversity initiatives and things like that. And I think there's value in them, but I also think that movements come and movements go. There's always going to be a new social movement that some people are going to get super behind. And I'm really, really happy that right now that this is a social movement that people have gotten behind. But I also think there is a lot of work to be done, because it's not just police brutality that's an issue. Systemic racism is a thing, and until different institutions work at really getting at its root, it's going to always be there. And I think as physicians and trying to be a physician, trying to study for STEP, we kind of see all these social problems outside of the scope of what our job is. like I'm just supposed to check their blood pressure or make sure that their heart's beating okay and things like that. But we all know that there are so many different health disparities. Black women 3 times more likely to die from a maternal mortality cause. Infant mortality like 2.5 times more for African Americans versus other counterparts. HIV like 8 to 9 times more likely to have it versus other counterparts. Like we all know it, but there hasn't been a great headway in actually fixing the root issue. And I think this unique opportunity that we've gotten between OSU trying to push these diversity initiatives and seeing that so many more people are seeing how systemic racism plays into the daily lives of so many Black Americans, I think it's also super important to push for rooted and systemic and organizational change across all medical schools. There is a reason why only 4 to 5% of doctors are Black, even though there's like 12% to 13% of the population. In like 1960s, my parents couldn't go to med school if they lived in Louisiana or North Carolina or a few other states. And trying to fix that issue, I think, is a hard issue, but I think it's an issue that if different heads came together, they could work towards creating longitudinal change. So that's been one of those things I've been working on in the background with different students, trying to figure out how to get more organizational leadership to push for diversity and to push for different voices to be heard, because I think Chris Rock said this, maybe, that right now people think that racism was a fad, but racism is something that kills millions of people every day. And it's our job, and we'll take an oath to like take care of everybody and to try to do our best for everybody. And a lot of people are falling through the cracks in America. So that's really been in the back of my mind for the past like week and a half.